Ooh, I want to ask you a question. If it's off limit, tell me. Did it impact your romantic relationship with your husband?
Um, I would say yes. Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way.
Okay.
I felt that the more I gave it is the more I keep him.
Oh, interesting.
Because
Interesting.
that's how I felt like men related to women.
Interesting. Interesting.
So
I'm just curious in that sense. Go ahead.
yeah, so I have to choose my words.
No, we're gonna
you
be
know,
careful with it. No,
yeah,
it just, I wanted to ask it. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, okay,
no,
this is gonna go in
it's
my.
not off limits because
But
I've been through, I walked through it, and because I do counsel women that has gone through similar situation, sometimes worse or maybe not as much, that it benefits the community, to be honest. And a lot of
yeah,
times we don't speak about things as, intimacy,
right,
sexuality, and all these things because we think
right,
it's off limits. This is what sends our young girls into the hands of danger. And
exactly.
so I believe that there's nothing off limits to ask because it's helping somebody out. So
Yeah,
for me, I didn't struggle in that area in a bad way. I just thought that that's how men related to women. And so I felt like I had to be hypersexual
wow.
and in my pursuit to being with my husband,
Mm.
because it was also a fear that he will leave me, and then I won't find anybody else. It was so it played out in so many ways, and I found out that I was also inflicting trauma because
Tell me what you mean.
I was being so overprotective, I was being so overbearing, I was being so quarrelsome, and there were just other things that, insecure about certain things that was playing out, that I inflicted trauma on my marriage, I inflicted trauma on my children. And now I have to unravel all of these things that I have unknowingly created out of my ignorance to what trauma did to me.
My goodness. My goodness. I have the lead attorney in the building. Thank you. He's one of the biggest YouTubers around. Thank you for
Hey.
being here. Lead always gets on me when I have deep conversations and deep shows about women who have been through very, very difficult traumas. So Lead, you might want to sit this one out. We've been doing a little bit of good work, I believe, in understanding, how someone is affected by childhood traumas and what it looks like to overcome them. We are going to talk a little bit about her now. Let's pivot. Yeah, he's giving me the ha because we've had this conversation, guys, offline. Where I'm like, Lee, people need to hear these conversations. This is life. This is when people, the Bible. I think no, let me not say that. The church, because the Bible got a lot of stuff I don't think people realize is in the Bible, but the church doesn't do a good job with understanding how people can apply a lot of what is taught to real life. I think sometimes church leaves you sometimes with he's talking about maybe you can come on my show and we can get deep. You know what, Lee? About you. Listen, that's not, we staying on topic. Listen, I like what you're saying, Lee. But let's stay on topic today. But deep in a sense that it's very understandable that a lot of people sit on a lot of things and don't think others can relate because they feel isolated, they feel alone, they feel like they're the only one that has gone through trauma. But what I wanted to show with my platform is that many of us have the similar experiences, and to get on the other side of them, sometimes you have to hear how someone else did. So in that regard, I want to ask you, thank you again, Lee, for being here. So as you started to face the woman in the mirror and say, God, my life, how I'm raising my children, how I relate to my husband, even though, quote unquote, a lot of Lead, I'm not going to put up no more comments, but a lot, no, Lead out here clowning, clowning, but on a serious note, so a lot of women don't wake up from the constant beating up of oneself, holding on to insecurity, overprotection of their children, relating to their husband in probably not the most healthy way in order to try to keep him, quote unquote,
Or choosing
and
him
only
the
thinking
most
that.
unhealthy way too.
Pardon?
and choosing him in the most unhealthy way too.
What does that mean?
Because you choose out of your trauma.
So finding someone who is hopefully going to heal you, you feel, without even thinking about it out loud, not even conscious of that's why you chose this person.
Right.
Interesting. Are you still married?
Actually, I just got a divorce.
Wow.
I'm a divorcee. We were married for 15 years. I still love him, and we're still parents of 3 beautiful girls. But yeah.
Woo, I think we got to go. That might be a part 2. We might have to come back now to Tanisha Allen.
Part 2.
Didn't expect that. Whoa. I'm here learning about her. Thank you for being so open. Again, Dr. Tanisha Allen, we're going to get to your project, your baby. But I think this is more important when we get to know people. And again, thank you because you're a woman in ministry. Your openness, your transparency, your ability to kind of really look at and say out loud, this happened to me and this is how I heal from it. So selecting even a person to live with, be married to out of trauma happens as a result of a lot of what you have already described. Right. So as you look, like I said, in the mirror and say, gosh, I finally can see the behavior for what it is. How do you identify, or when do you decide to take that step? Like, I need help to process everything that happened to me. Was it post the testimony at the trial? You said that helped you get delivered. Talk a little bit about how you came to the realization finally, or gave yourself permission even, or some people don't even have the awareness. So how did that testifying against your abuser, seeing what your behavior was like around around family, how did that lead you to getting to the therapy?
I didn't get therapy right at that moment. After I testified, because around that time I started my journey with God again. And so I went back to the church, I got baptized, I recommitted myself to God, and I got serious. So at that time, I didn't know that I needed help. It was just the trial that brought out all this stuff inside of me. And so it made me realize how hurt I was. And really and truly at the time, I didn't know how to access therapy. I didn't know how to do it because I thought therapy costs a lot of money. I also had there was a stigma around therapy as well, but I went to, I found therapy in God, I guess, at the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that that's the only way we're supposed to do therapy, because I'm an advocate for therapy.
Jesus plus therapy is what we say around here.
Listen, it needs to be married, because that's the reason why we have people that are hurt, because they have not gone through the purging of the psyche, of what they've gone through, and we have to purge our emotions a lot of times. And so when people don't really mean to hurt you, they hurt you, So going through
that was years later that you decided to get therapy. You had been living in a marriage kind of with these kind of characteristics for that whole time?
Right. When I realized that I was not, I think I literally just started getting therapy.
Just yesterday.
Not yesterday, but I started seeking it maybe 4 years ago. Wow. And that was only because I started to have issues in the marriage. And again, it wasn't a resource that I had. I didn't know that insurance could pay for therapy. Now I know that now. Before, absolutely. I thought you had to have money to pay for somebody to be your therapist. I didn't know that. And so this is where uneducation.
It sounds like something white people do. Can I just say that out loud? Right. A lot of us in the diaspora, in the Black diaspora, African American, Caribbean American, African, wherever you're there, Black diaspora has had this stigma with therapy, to think that, again, it's only for rich people, mostly Caucasian brothers and sisters, to understand their issues. We don't have them issues.
We don't have them issues.
Thank you, RM, for saying it out loud. Therapy rocks. A lot of times when we are seeking a partner, we just did this. This is like so in line with a lot of the discussions I've had all week about Dr. Thunder. Shout out to him. At the end of the show with Developing Dad, he talked about the biggest issue affecting Black folks in our dating is partner selection.
Right.
And understanding who we are is the biggest part of partner selection. We trying to select from oftentimes a place of brokenness.
Right. We're trying to find our daddies.
So you're going to find, help us all, God, I'm not perfect. How to unpack that is seeking help through professionals who are trained in the line of work, which is going to identify your pain, your triggers, the post-traumatic stress, which she just described, that she was living. And we was just calling it life and her personality. No. Normal people don't have to go and, double check their daughter 10 times a day. That's not normal.
That's not normal. It's not
right.
Normal.
But we, pass it off as we just being, protective moms. We just being, okay, I got to make sure my husband get this, that, and the third. No, actually, you got to figure out why you feel that way. So I'm glad, even if years later, it sounds like married 15, you said, so about 4 years. Wow. Yeah. So 10 years later, post marriage. Wow. So, and you said difficulties in the marriage is what kind of help you get to that point. Then we all, this is like, again, go back and watch this week's shows, y'all. Go back and watch this week's shows. Let me read some of the chat links saying fact. We have, fun fact, RM says, they are qualified trauma expert. Qualified trauma expert Christian psychotherapists. And I don't even know this for a friend. Okay, thank you. Dr. Thunder says, my ears, how nice to see you, Doc. Just talking about you. My ears are ringing. Absolutely. So therapy helped you in what way?
It helped me realize that I'm not as good as I thought I was.
Meaning good, meaning okay on the inside.
Okay on the inside and a good person.
Oh, as a good person. You meant that way too. Okay.
Yeah, I meant that way too. Good on the inside and a good person, because remember, I was walking in Christianity. And so I became self-righteous in a way, kind of, and I realized that even though, and just FYI, my husband is not a Christian, or ex-husband now. So, I was like saying, he's a sinner, that type of thing. And I know what God is saying. And I thought I knew more. But when I sat in that therapy room and I heard my husband open up his heart, I was like, wow, I didn't know how ugly I was.
Oh, boy.
And it made me go on a pursuit, because one of the first things that when you are living a life talking to God, he exposes your inner heart. And so God was already exposing my heart and exposing the details that I didn't even remember that was sitting in my heart, and caused me to now go and justify the issues that I had with myself and the issues that I've created because of things I allow and things that just fell upon me because life happened. And so now hearing my ex-husband talk about these things, I was putting two and two together, and I was like, hey, you can't just live a facade of a Christian woman, which I was morally correct, but I was being immoral in my character. And so I now had to develop what a godly woman look like and take off the masculinity, because I was walking in such a masculine nature. And that my husband used to say all the time, he's like, oh, wear the pants, me are you? Like, and I'm like, me, I wear the pants, and I didn't know that it was affecting him. It was affecting my children. And I didn't want my girls to, have this generational cycle happen where we put on this persona that we have to be masculine women to be able to win in society. And we have to understand that being a woman in all the virtue and the nature that we are is strength. And once I was able to understand strength in my humility, strength in my weakness, and submission doesn't mean that you make a man walk all over you. That's not what it means. But
hold on, sis, you preaching right now. You preaching. I'm gonna have to hold you up, because I don't want to stop the train, because they be talking about you always interrupting. I have to process, guys.
Yeah, let's process.
While she's saying something really good now, I don't want to pass over what she just said, because it's super important what she just said, and we're going to get deeper. What I'm hearing, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, explain for me. When women come from trauma, y'all don't be mad at me. I'm going to step on your toes though.
Step on it.
Oftentimes, some of the overcompensation that we have to make, or we feel that we have to make, puts us in a masculine frame of thought.
Right.
Oh my gosh, they tell me there is no more masculine and feminine. I know there's still masculine and feminine.